The Justin Robert Young program, brought to you as always by the folks that pay us. You want to be somebody that pays us? Well, it's easy, friend. Head on over there to PaidJuryDaily.com. Ho, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Justin Robert Young Show. Last show of the week, Thursday, sending you into the weekend by way of Friday. Before we get rolling, a few places where you can find me that isn't this show. Number one, I did a great interview last night on the Creator Crush podcast. Big shout out to them. Number two, tonight I will be on one of the hardcore Diamond Club faves, Ritual Misery, the Ritual Misery podcast. I will be the guest there tonight. That is at 7 p.m. Pacific time, or you can just go subscribe to the Ritual Misery podcast, which I recommend. And then this Saturday, 5 p.m. local time, Austin, Texas. I'm taking my happy ass down to the Lone Star State. And I am going to do my goddamn damnedest to have a great time. And it's not going to be hard because it's going to be me, Brian Brushwood. Yeah, the full Night Attack duplex will be joining forces like Voltron with the Everything's Coming Up Simpsons podcast live in Austin, Texas, the North Door on Bushy Street. Head on over, just Google, Everything's Coming Up Simpsons podcast, or just go to the North Door, 5 p.m. this Saturday in Austin, Texas. It's going to be a hoot and hollering good time. Now, I'm going to be having a great time this weekend. The people that will probably not be having as good of a time are all of our friends, family, listeners, viewers who are in the Carolinas. It appears as if the major hurricane that is now bearing down on their shores will likely hit over the weekend. They are starting to get some of the outer bands now. So please, everybody, if you have somebody, make sure that you go ahead and check on them. But I want to give you guys a little. I want to give you guys a little bit of Florida wisdom. You grow up in Florida, you look at hurricanes a little bit differently. Now, here's the best thing about hurricanes. A lot of people are going to tell you about the worst things. They're deadly. They're awful. Number one, hey, here's a good tip for all the homeowners. Pictures, pictures, pictures. In fact, the best thing that you can do right now if you are a homeowner in the Carolinas, fucking high definition video of literally everything in your house. Every possible thing in your house. Go up to the attic, shoot everything. There's no element of your house that you should not be taking pictures of. If you're not a homeowner, you live in an apartment complex, almost even more so. Make sure that you are taking a picture of literally everything. Even if you don't have renter's insurance and you just want to make sure that that landlord knows that shit wasn't broken before the hurricane, like, it's easy now. Used to be hard. You used to have to go get film, get your camera, get it developed, wait until after everything got, picked up, put back together. Now you just got your phone, high definition video, literally everything. All right. So that's for insurance purposes. That's for so you don't get fucked by your landlord. That's so for when everything hits the fan and you've got some serious insurance stuff that you got to deal with, you're going to get to the front of the line if you just have all your boxes checked. The biggest thing that you can do is have high definition pictures and video of all the things that were broken before they were broken. That's boring shit, though. Let's talk about the fun shit. Because hurricanes can be pretty fun. I'm just saying, of all the natural disasters, they're the most fun. They are. You can't be by a forest fire and enjoy yourself. Earthquakes come and go. Tornadoes are just concentrated terror. But there is going to be the vast majority of people that experience this hurricane over the weekend, for which it will be a scary experience. It might be an intense experience, but there won't be much damage. Maybe some trees blown down, stuff like that. Maybe your gutter is going to be a little warped, but it won't be the end of the world. And then there are some of you that are of a certain age, or maybe are of that age in heart, where it's going to be pretty fun. It will. So here are my Justin Robert Young hurricane party tips. Number one, and this is the most important, which is why I put it first. You have to make sure that you have your guest list tight. All right? This is not a regular party. You might think that you're going to book this like a regular party. It's not a regular party. This is only people who can hang. Only people who can hang. Because I'm going to tell you this. If you have a party and somebody gets too drunk too early and starts acting like an idiot, you can tell them to leave. Not so at a hurricane party. Not so at a hurricane party. You got to deal with them the whole time. And here's what you don't want. You don't want somebody you can't hang, gets too drunk, gets into a fight with somebody, and then they're like, I'm just going to drive home. It's not even that bad. I think we're in the eye. It's that bad. Nobody should be driving home. Penny JW points out that this is kind of like a blizzard party. Yes, except blizzard parties last in general for longer than hurricane parties do. You're basically looking at just a rager, like a mandatory rager. It's kind of like a church lock-in, except you're being locked in by actual God. That's the best way to look at a hurricane party. Normally, it's just somebody who's kind of like God's friend who's like, oh, let's lock the door and watch movies. Now it's like, no, God's saying, get the fuck indoors. I'm doing some shit. So only people who can hang. First rule. If you're talking to a friend, you're like, who are we inviting over for the hurricane party? And you're like, Carl, and someone's like, yeah, no, Carl's not in. Number two, remember that the majority of this party, you're planning for the majority of this party to be without power. So you want plenty of things that don't need plugged in power. Right now, if you have an opportunity to charge literally every battery you have in your house, do that. Make sure you stash a few batteries, because these days you're probably going to be able to get LTE signal for the vast majority of what you're going to deal with. You know, we have thankfully bumped up technology to a certain point where it's not like when the power goes out, you're totally out of options. You're probably going to be able to play some Hearthstone well into this. So make sure that anything you do, don't be like, hey, we're gonna do a movie thing. No, unless everybody's gathering around your iPad Pro, nobody is. Don't make that the only plan. So tabletop games, absolutely. That's something legit. Now, This is where we're going to get advanced. Because I made mention before about people who couldn't hang. I made mention about people who were going to want to drive home. I didn't say that alcohol was mandatory. You can end it if this is a dry party. There's plenty of dry hurricane parties. A hurricane party is just a great gathering of people so you can ride out an experience. It's better to be at a hurricane party than be alone during a hurricane. This is a fact, okay? You don't want some shit to go down and you're the only person there. Be around people. So I don't want to make this into a booze-filled bacchanalia because it doesn't have to be. But if you wanted it to be, here's what you want to remember. Yes, you want to have a lot of ice. Number 2, remember that as soon as the power goes out, that amount of cold in your refrigerator is the last amount of cold that you might have, not only for that night, but also for many nights to come, possibly. So here's what you do. A shit ton of water. You're going to want a lot of water. I would not rely on mixers. If you can roll with beer or pre-mix stuff, that's going to be the way to go. Again, this is high stakes drinking that we're talking about here. This is not for the faint of heart. This ain't for the amateurs. You want 101? Head to the bar on a fucking Saturday night. Better yet, save that shit for St. Patrick's Day. This is pros only. That means pace yourself. There's going to be no guarantee that this is going to end anytime soon, and nobody needs to be getting too wasted. I'm assuming that you're probably not in some sort of stately manse. This is likely going to be in a bathroom, in a 1, possibly 2 bathroom setting. If somebody vomits up a bathroom, that's some shit you have to deal with without being able to crack a window for many, many hours. And if your electricity goes out, your air conditioning goes out. So what I'm saying to you is, if you're taking shots, understand where it's going. Again, I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying pros only. This is everybody on their veteran drinking behavior. I'm doing this for you. I got 100% shield here in the chat room, screaming and yelling for everybody to get blasted. I'm just going to tell you, it's going to be better off if you're going to get wasted, be somebody that gets wasted a lot. Understand how it works. Understand where you're at. Understand that you're not going to vomit. Really, you just want to avoid vomiting. This is my top line on the drinking thing. Do not fucking vomit. Don't hang out with people that vomit. And if you're doing stuff like drinking nothing but liquor, specifically early on, then you're going to be dealing with somebody who is effectively a bloated corpse who has already made your bathroom stink to high heaven and a point where you might not have air conditioning for 3 days. How pleasurable does that sound? Be a smart hurricane partier. That's the JuRY promise. All right, I was going to talk about the Waffle House. I love the Waffle House. Apparently, this is the story I was going to talk about. FEMA apparently uses the Waffle House as a way to determine how intense a hurricane is. The Waffle House, by the way, has their own storm center that they have set up in this conference room monitoring Hurricane Florence. And they have posted signs in all of their windows saying that the Waffle House will reopen as soon as the storm is over. God bless the Waffle House, and may our admiration for this treasured American institution be smothered, covered, and chunked with our love. Let's go ahead and get into your emails. Joe writes, based on what I know about Lennon and McCartney, Paul was about 15 when he started playing music with the older John Lennon. They were also playing burlesque halls in Hamburg before they were 20. So their public masturbation tracks. We had a guy in high school who, when we played overnight D&D sessions, could be heard shuffling in his sleeping bag and moaning for all to hear after we turned in. He was teased, but not shamed. I had a roommate in college who frequented porn shops and would play DVDs on his Apple G4, pants around his ankles in the kitchenette like it was no big deal that others were around. Antisocial, but we were all sexual animals at that time, and as long as he didn't make a mess and shared the DVDs, it was allowed. But after I graduated and I got my own place, I don't think I ever experienced people pleasuring themselves around me again in any kind of quote-unquote normal setting. The one time I did see it recently was walking back from a bar in the Tenderloin, and that dude wasn't right. So the question is, when does it stop being a thing you do and get viewed as normal and cross into being a sexual deviant? I can't imagine a scenario now where I'd want to continue spending time with somebody if he felt comfortable rubbing one out near me. Excuse me from the table, please, he puts into fictitious prose. I will return after I rub one out in the bathroom. I guess that's how polite adults would jacket in front of their friends. Safely away in a stall. I think that this is, well, you want to know what? I was going to say this seems like some hashtag guy shit, but I don't know. Maybe it's not. Lady listeners, lady viewers, is this some hashtag guy shit, or is this some shit that you have experienced in your life? I would assume that there is an element of, frat house mentality to this, that it's like as you are going through your late adolescence into your 20s, that there's an element of like figuring out what's weird and what people are comfortable with, and there's always that guy who's going to push the boundaries. So I would probably say, I think that, Joe, you have come up with the dividing line when you get your own place. Because I don't know if I would accept it from my adult roommate, even when I was in my 20s. 100% Shield says, that's some gay shit. And Reverse Running says, agree, all caps. I mean, don't be so suburban. Sean writes, I was shocked and appalled to hear the factual inaccuracies in Wednesday's JuRY Daily. An email was read purporting to be Sean the Watch Shopper, but I am the only watch shopping Sean, and I didn't send that email. Except this kind of tomfoolery from unimportant fluff shows like Politics, but not the important, hard-hitting, serious program like JuRY Daily. Fake news, fake news, fake news. Sean, I would like to issue an apology. There was another Sean who spells his name like you, who wrote a YouTube comment and then was referring to the 3rd and 6th result with the same search that you had. I assumed that there were not two Seans who spell their name the same that also did the same search, despite the fact that I asked people to go do it. So there was a YouTube Sean and there's an email Sean that have both found the same results. I conflated the two, but now maybe Sean, the YouTuber, you should email in JuRY Daily, and Sean, the emailer, you should go post on YouTube. So now you can be the dual dimension Spocks, and I will never be able to tell the difference. Kate from YouTube writes, I really should not sue the baby while I listen to the High Thought segment. The what are vowels thought made me shake from laughing so hard that he woke up. Still worth it. Keep it coming, weirdos. And Airedale Ducky from YouTube writes, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. I have no idea what that means, but I feel like it's pleasant enough to go out on. Folks, that about wraps it up for us.
What do you say we both just leave?
We'd like to thank our producers, the Jen, PD Rave, Non-Specific Rock and Roll Martian, Joe Acosta, Will John H. Meyer, James, Bill, and Dustin. You can go ahead and email me, jurydaily@gmail.com. If you're watching us on the YouTube, go ahead and throw a comment. Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, @Justin R. Young. And, of course, you can join the conversation at diamondclub.reddit.com. Folks, please, let's give an round of applause for Mr. Wacky. And if you find yourself in the eye of the storm this weekend, metaphorically or otherwise, remember that this is your old pal, Justin Robert Young, telling you to please don't
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.